You're listening to Moonhawk Studios Presents. Moonhawk Studios Presents. Moonhawk Studios Presents. Oh my God, we are actually back. And I am your host, Mac Paladin, and welcome to Moonhawk Studios Presents Season 14. Hooray! It only took us...
Is this where we pull up the audience?
You know what? I think I do have an audience clap. Here we go.
Applause, please.
Okay. Thank you for silencing. No, stop. All right, I'm still working on getting this whole soundboard thing operational, but I am your host, Mac Paladin, and this is Season 14, and we have been on a 5-year hiatus from this program. Now, for those of you who know, we did this show from 2009 until 2017 with a minor break in between, and so that's why we were on Season 14 and not Season 1. In the interim, we've done other shows with our crew here. Of course, we had a 2-season run with Last News Desk on the Left during the pandemic, in which case we introduced one of our new members to our band, Kevin, and say hi, Kevin.
Hi, yeah.
And so
I'm the new guy.
Exactly. So let me get the introductions out of the way, so that way we can retain our original format here. Of course, I am co-hosted by Adam Dayton.
Hi.
And then, of course, we have Kevin D.
Kevin Cruising. Hi, how you doing? I'm the new guy.
That's right. And, of course, we have Kira W.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Now, Kira is also known as Varias here on Twitch, so if you're familiar with her channel, or if this is your first time, feel free to check her out, twitch.tv/Varias, and she has regular gaming streams, and I co-stream with her at least 3 days a week.
Indeed.
All right, so of course we have Petty Fan in the house.
The hazing rituals will begin soon.
And of course, those of you who are familiar with my MS Saga streams on Sunday, this gentleman is no stranger to you, the Golics.
Yes, that is who I am.
We used to do a bit about funny hats on your avatar, but I felt that was too trite for this particular broadcast.
Yes, it is again a
But he
reference.
doesn't have. Yeah, he doesn't have the hat anymore on Discord.
Yes, I do.
Now,
So
No, that-
yeah. Okay, so that's what this is going to turn into, huh?
yeah, that's pretty much it. Now,
You
of
thought it
course,
was going to be anything else?
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
all right, kids, settle down. Now, of course, I am the McLaughlin of this McLaughlin group, and I will be feebly attempting to moderate this entire program here. As per our original format, of course, the crew and I chit-chat for a little while. We bring everybody up to speed on what we've been up to and what we've been doing, and my, oh my, there has been a lot. We've separated shows, we've created new ones, our lives are quite a bit different than when we were last together in 2017.
Yep.
You're not joking.
Indeed. But as was tradition on this show, let's start off with some news. Adam, what you got?
All right, I guess I should start by mentioning my program. I am the host of Fragments of Silicon. That is our game dev show that runs right before this one on Wednesday nights. We have just launched our 16th season. This program has been running since 2013, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think you moved to Twitch in 2014, but yeah, at least 2013. It was originally a segment on MSP back in the day.
We moved to Twitch in like 2018, something like that, and we've been there ever since. The Golics and Petty Fan co-chair that particular program. That is where we do all the video game talk these days, in very basic terms. But I suppose in more personal news, my laptop has been in the repair shop for over a week now. I'm like, because Windows Update apparently blew out an audio driver or something. And they haven't exactly identified the problem yet. And you know, doing all this from a phone only is painful.
Mhm.
Sometimes literally.
Mhm.
Like, anyway, that's about the sum of my news.
All right, then let's actually do Kevin next because he's new to
Yeah.
this program. So let's get
Yes.
Kevin on here. Kevin, what's
Yes.
the haps? What are you doing? What are you into?
Well, I guess since I am the newbie of this bunch, I should introduce myself. My name is Kevin Grusing, and I'm on Twitter at KevDGrusing. I haven't been able to have an incredible last couple of years because of that simple fact. I don't really have much in way of a Twitch thing other than this. I'm not really on YouTube. I'm not really that much. Yeah, as you can
And-
probably tell from my sound, I'm a little bit shy at the moment here because I am so, fresh and so new here, and I don't know how
you're also
go over.
I'm pretty sure you're as excited as our viewers are to talk to our guests. So I can totally understand that.
Yes, let's just say this is it's kind of the reason why I'm a little shy because I feel like I feel like I kind of have no business being in this room because I'm not really as much of a podcaster or
You'll be
individual.
okay.
You will do
Just
breathe.
fine. You will do fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm a little like this. I'm not usually like this. I'm not usually this shy. I'm not usually this reserved.
Kevin, take a slow breath and
Yeah.
exhale and relax.
Yeah.
Something about thinking about puppies.
See,
Well, that and also make sure you drop your shoulders. I bet you your shoulders are really tense right now.
well,
I can tell the way you're talking.
Yeah.
see what I do.
Don't worry, you won't embarrass yourself any more than I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
Well, you see, here's what I do, Kevin. I do the nerd thing. I keep an empty bag of Cheetos
Yeah.
next to my desk, so that way I can control both my cravings and my hyperventilation.
Well, I got a box to tease it over here, so I guess that's close.
I suppose that'll work.
Don't try to inhale the bag of Cheetos
No,
from the
I
bag of
don't.
Cheetos while there are still Cheetos in it.
Right, exactly.
don't
See,
worry.
because then
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing. And if you're thinking you're doing drugs that way, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, let's just say that I'm excited to the point of shyness, and also that let's just say there's a little jealousy in my life because of the fact that I'm in the same room with Lewis over here.
Oh my God. All right.
Oh.
Look, continuing down the line here, of course, we now you see, like I said, I mentioned Kira here, so Kira's next in the line, and Kira's got. Let's just say that Kira's had a lot of changes since 2014 when she was last on the show.
Yes. So
A lot has changed.
A lot has changed. I actually came out as transgender in 2020. So lots of fun things there. I stream on Twitch on we mentioned earlier, co-stream is on Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. I co-stream with Mac. We play Paladins and Overwatch, and then on Fridays I have a solo stream that I do. And right now we're doing Dead Space 2. I'm working my way through all 3 games, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go from there. I think I'm going to move back to the new Tomb Raider games after that. I do that every Friday, and then I have impromptu streams on like Fridays and Saturdays in the evenings where I do art and things like that on stream. Other than that, I do music stuff occasionally, as where you hear me plucking away on the guitar back here.
Indeed.
And of course, I moved to Tucson in 2019.
So we are now roommates. We are actually broadcasting from the
yes.
same room, no longer 3,000 miles apart.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, we're
2200.
You have functional soundproofing, or at least
Sort
close
of.
enough.
Sort of.
Even if it's just distance based.
Well, I mean, my rig here is kind of like in a scanner darkly, where I have like 16 monitors surrounding me. But
I have a lot of the noise cancellation and things set on my microphone, and so it kills a lot of the sound from 15 feet away.
indeed. All right. Now, did you want to share anything else, or did you want to proceed?
I think that's the big stuff. I mean,
All right. That's
I
cool.
went from depressed Viking to 6'3" goth girl. So
Well, that's a nice change I would expect.
yeah,
Things are looking up. That's the important thing.
Yep.
Things are looking up. That's what really matters here. Now, of course, we have Petty Fan here. Petty Fan, what do you got going on, buddy?
Honestly, I'm mostly the stream operator for Fragments. I also sometimes stream on my own.
You've got the Final Fantasy 14, right?
Yeah. I actually do that with a former member of the cast, Elemental Ogre.
We may
And
coax him back at some time, but for right now, we're just laying low on that.
Yeah, we need to get the traps rebaited and stuff. It's a whole ordeal.
Clear out the feral cats.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes we do that. We haven't been doing it a whole lot lately just because of the Final Fantasy 14 servers are kind of wonky right now because there's so many people playing.
Mm-hmm.
If I get kicked out, I'm literally in a 20-30 minute wait, and that doesn't make for very good streaming.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't queue for DPS on Overwatch when I'm streaming.
Indeed.
But yeah, other than that, I'm just your, I guess, fairly regular, crazy, almost 30-year-old.
Ah, the halcyon days of my 30s. They've been long.
I wish I had halcyon days.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone in this house is over 40.
Well, it's particularly significant because yesterday I turned 45. So this show is kind of an important milestone for me because we bring the show back on my on roughly my 45th birthday. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, of course, we have the Galax here, who's been helping me with MS Saga translations on my Japanese playthroughs of various Castlevania games.
Yeah, I can at least read inventory screens, which is, helpful.
and quite rightly correcting me on the history of Final Fantasy.
Like you said, I'm trying to be polite about it. I have had a lot of practice with that since it's been a habit I've been in for way too long. Comes with some of the Spectrum stuff I have, But yeah, I'm on Fragments too. I help with reviews and commentary and discussion topics, and I help Mac with that. And otherwise, I have a day job working for a Center for Independent Living, doing mostly office work. We had the uninterruptible power supply for our server rack beeping all day today. Was not fun.
Oh no.
Ooh.
And it's the specific beep, it's the double beep every half second or whatever that's supposed to be.
No.
That means that the battery is running down to the end of its life or whatever. And apparently the office manager called the people who manage the equipment, and they're like, "Oh no, that's not what it is." And then I printed out when I got there, I printed out the friggin' manuals and highlighted that this is what that thing means, and she got a hold of them. She's like, "Well, apparently they're sending someone tomorrow."
Well, air quotes
So-
tomorrow or actually tomorrow?
Hopefully, actually tomorrow.
Oh dear
I
goodness.
won't know because I'm off tomorrow because dentist appointment. So,
All right.
and yeah. Otherwise, I play video games and watch things, and yeah. And I am also a significant fan of both of our guests today, but I will try to not get too carried away with it or be too familiar because really there's no way of knowing which way I go on these things.
I can already see Chuck and Lewis casting side eye at you like, who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I tease. Gosh, so of course that brings us full circle to me, and of course I've been back on Twitch and broadcasting since 2018, and Varias and I, of course, Kira and I have been.
it's all your fault.
Yeah, we've been actually developing. We've been turning my webcomics into animation with Starship Moonhawk. On my channel, we also did a sort of motion comic. We've produced the first 7 episodes of The Lavenders.
Something like that.
6 or 7,
We did that.
6 or 7, and we have new footage that we're making from scratch for the remainder of the first
Yeah.
season.
And then you have all of the Starship Moonhawk related stuff. There's the 20-minute content warning, trigger warning, Surrender, which is done kind of as a motion comic.
Right, which stars Elsie Lovelock and Paul Sieber and a few other really famous people that
Yeah.
Devontae Johnson, he did a fantastic job on that, so I'm giving a
Yes.
little shout out to some of the actors we've had the privilege of working with. If you don't know Elsie Lovelock, then shame on you. She
Yes.
was aggravating Scottish Twitter for quite some time with all of her antics with the new Pokemon trainer.
The Scottish Pokemon girl, yes.
Yeah, and,
Gloria.
and of course she was also the singing voice of Charlie in Has Been Hotel, and I think she just recently got cast in a brand new role. So pretty excited about that.
One other thing that we have the first episode of is Covert Ops.
Yes, which stars Carrie Means and Sammy Bold. Carrie Means, if you don't know him by name, it's not that surprising because he's more famously known by his alter ego, Master Frylock from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah.
So we've had the privilege of working with some amazing people. Of course, Richard Ebcar, who was on the show during our final season previously, and just on and on and on. In fact, our third and fifth guests this season are also moderately famous voice actors. I'm totally blanking on the name because, of course, I don't have the list in front of me. So if somebody has the Google Doc open, that would be great. But I believe he was the voice of Sans in Undertale.
Is that? You told me about this guy earlier today.
Yeah, I know. I'm having a moment here, and it's just embarrassing that I don't have all my documents in front of me. I feel like
because you're 45.
Yeah, I feel like this is an old episode of Letterman, and he doesn't have his blue cards in front of him. Oddly appropriate reference for me, considering I grew up on Letterman and idolized his show quite a bit. In fact, we make a lot of references to it in our old episodes of Moonhawk Studios Presents. But yeah, so we're doing a lot with Starship Moonhawk. I'm converting everything into animations and OVAs for our YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/Mr. Palladino. And of course, somebody I'm sure will type that into chat before too long. So yeah, so like I said, we had a lot of territory to cover. There's still more to come. And we will get to that, but we're inching up on the 20-minute mark. So I would like to talk to our guests because that's kind of the big thing here. Of course, let's see here. I think I've covered everything there.
I like that your bot welcomed me to the chat, even though I've been here this whole time.
I know. Well, you didn't say anything. That's the way they roll. You don't say anything all this time, and they're like, "Oh, hello, thank you for joining."
Right. It's like, bitch, I'm a part of the damn show. What are you talking about?
I feel that our guests need no introduction tonight, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's how
we roll.
That's how ADHD kids do their formatting. We stick to protocol. Of course, our main guest tonight is SF Debris, aka Chuck Sonnenburg. Chuck, welcome to the program.
Thanks, great to be here.
And of course, we've lost count of how many times Chuck has been on the show, so we're gonna gloss over that fact, and also welcome our other guest, his good buddy Linkara, aka Louis Lovhaug, who has gone AFK.
Whoop.
Sounds about right.
I made like an angelic choir noise, and apparently my microphone did not want to pick that up.
It was so angelic that technology could not hear it.
It literally died.
My microphone couldn't handle it.
Now, just for clarity,
goodness.
this week Chuck is our primary guest, and Louis is here for moral support. Next week we will be talking to Louis and finding him out about all of his shenanigans and goings on. But
sorry.
But this has become kind of like a tradition that anytime we have Chuck on the show, that we have Louis come along with him.
It's almost like a buy one get one free deal.
Oh
Yeah.
God! I wish you hadn't have said that.
So somebody's gonna
Wow.
ship that, you know it, right?
Jesus.
I'm a coupon.
I feel like I'm suddenly in the episode threshold.
Linkara, the sticker.
Whoops!
No.
I'm having a moment. I'm having a moment here where the oh shit light just came on.
It wouldn't be this show without it, would it?
Of course, for those of
Attention
you
Kmart shoppers.
for those of you who know Chuck's work intimately, that is definitely a reference to the opinionated reviews of Star Trek Voyager. So, Chuck, welcome back to the program. Thank you for being here. How the hell are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm great. I am super positive and definitely not going to be a sour, self-pitying piece of shit this next hour.
So with Peter Capaldi as their icon.
You've had quite a bit going on since the last time you were on the program. I heard about a roof collapsing. You've expanded your show to cover a much wider range of topics beyond Star Trek. Why don't you kind of walk through some of the things that have happened since you've last been here?
Well, with the show, we've the biggest expansion I'd say probably is in more of the long form works.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at Star Wars, looking at currently I'm doing a look at tabletop games, starting with Magic the Gathering. I've got a few more things that are planned for this coming year, like the background of 2001. So more of these long form works are coming in to either supplement or to be an addition to what the show is, to kind of get into some areas of geek culture that doesn't quite get as explored to the degree that I think it should.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of fascinating stories going on that people would really love to hear about, but it's not big enough to get the mainstream discussion, and it gets drowned out by a lot of rumors and hearsay that cover up the truth with misunderstandings.
I see.
I have a really bizarre side question to throw at you, Chuck, if you don't mind, real quick.
Go ahead.
Do you spend a lot of time looking at like foreign sci-fi, even in your personal time? Any of that?
Not really.
Okay.
I don't have a whole lot of free time when I'm not watching stuff for the show, so I'm usually pretty particular when it comes to what I watch. Then, so it's not that I wouldn't, but I don't have the time when I've got so many actual works that I've got to see for the show.
I can appreciate that.
Now, of the things that you've been doing recently, what has been your favorite lately? What is your current pride and joy?
I'm really happy with the way that the Planet of the Apes shook out. That was one half of the Christmas show this year, and it seems to have gotten a real positive reception with the audience. It got more recommendations from YouTube than usual, and the feedback has been mostly positive, which is unusual for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as someone who liked the original Planet of the Apes films, I really liked, just how thorough you were in the background on it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but one of the nice things about a classic like that is there's a lot of information on it, and while there's some conflicts with what is real and what isn't, it seemed a lot easier to kind of peel it back and see what was the more likely events that were taking place. But again, it was just another great, interesting story to hear all of the work that it took to make it. It wasn't just a typical, Holloway story. So someone commissioned this, and someone wrote a script, and so we got such and so, and then it was out in the can and all of that. And it was a long period of trying to get the interest and the support and telling people we can do a movie about a planet full of apes and it will be convincing and have a good story and people will like it. It won't be a ridiculous B movie like it sounds. So that
helps. No, go ahead. Sorry.
That was a real example of showing how science fiction or all speculative fiction really has the opportunity to be more than simply what people typically think of who are not as into science fiction, who only think of it as just Star Wars or just Star Trek. And obviously I don't mean that as a pejorative, but for them it is a pejorative. That's all that it is. And science fiction and fantasy can be so much more, and I think that film helped show that.
And helped explain just its cultural significance, where it was in history, why the makeup needed to be so right, why the effects work just in general needed to get just right and why it resonated with people so much. Because of course, it's very easy for us to become jaded on makeup and special effects these days, with how it seems like it seems like everything easier. Obviously, actual makeup and special effects artists have a much more have just as much difficult time as back then, but the way that this kind of stuff was not done until Planet of the Apes.
Really groundbreaking stuff,
Yeah.
that they had to basically invent as they went along.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite things with even like classic horror movies, getting into the aspects of the prosthetics and the makeup and making things that aren't real look as real as possible.
Not to mention I was reading something about Planet of the Apes about the allegorical nature of the story, because if I'm not mistaken, the author was kind of a French bureaucrat who left his boring but slightly his boring, unfulfilling government job behind and took a chance on writing sci-fi. I think that's the general history of it. So it's kind of an interesting commentary, because if you take that into account, it really informs the material well, I think.
In actuality, he was he was an engineer, but out in French Indochina.
Okay.
But he was also he served in World War II. He was part of a special unit that was trained to work behind enemy lines. He was trained to demolish enemy railroads. Is the reason why he wrote Bridge on the River Kwai, because of his experience in the war. He wasn't present for that, but he understood everything related to that.
See, I didn't realize those.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't realize those were written by the same person.
Yeah, he wrote that, and then it got of course the movie was made, and 2 Hollywood blacklisters wrote the script, but they couldn't be credited because they were blacklisted. So he got the credit for this script that for an English-speaking movie, and he doesn't speak a word of English.
The politics of Hollywood.
Yeah.
See, but that's always fascinating. I'm glad you were able to pick up what I was laying down there, because I remembered reading this in passing, and so my memory of it was kind of shaky. So I'm glad you were able to help us course correct on that one. I don't like to spread incorrect information.
It's information on the internet.
I know, right? Well, I'm also on the show, so I'm kind of locked in here. It's like every time I go researching, people are like, "Mac, what are you doing?" Huh?
But Chuck brought up a really good point about just in general the polarized view of science fiction that a lot of people are just like it's Star Trek or Star Wars, and that's really not the case. And there's I'm trying to find the right word. There's a wealth of underrated and kind of obscure science fiction that goes all the way back to the 60s that's absolutely amazing, and it's just kind of eye-opening and almost mind-blowing sometimes to sit down and watch.
Yeah, it's just not appreciated. A lot of times these films come along and they emphasize the parts of it that aren't science fiction to make it seem legitimate. These people who are praising it, but they're excluding an essential aspect. You can't possibly have a Planet of the Apes without science fiction, but people will praise it for all of its other aspects and ignore that part of it. And that's kind of been the heart of my show, has been looking at science fiction and seeing where it qualifies as legitimate cinema or legitimate television or legitimate works of art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen this across fandom. This bizarre disconnect, a sort of cognitive dissonance, if you will. That like for example, people complaining about Star Trek being woke or being too political, and it's like, son, have you ever seen Star Trek?
Proven number 6. Have you ever watched the show?
I mean,
Adam.
Here's another way that transpires. We have a term called standard fantasy. And what that usually means is something that's in the vein of Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And just think about that statement for a second. Standard fantasy. Like, it's fantasy. There should be nothing standard about it.
Right, and the immediate thought that jumps into my head is the formulaic band of adventurers, swords and magic, big bad, something has to be defeated.
Right.
I just think it's strange when people say, you know, something should be apolitical, and it's just like, that's the thing about science fiction.
That's the thing about art.
Yeah, it is based on the beliefs and experiences of the person creating it. So, you know,
By extension, all art of any kind is political, one way or another.
right.
Even the choice to not be political is a political choice.
Exactly.
That's why I always agreed with the Rift's alignment system. There is no such thing as true neutrality.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm
the closest things are don't care and being an asshole about making sure everything is perfectly balanced, which is really kind of lawful when you think about it.
I always play my actual alignment, which is chaotic neutral.
All right, I am going to redirect a little bit here, though.
Sorry.
Adam, I'm going to give you the floor for a second here so we can actually ask Chuck a question instead of pontificating around him.
All right, yeah. All right, so I suppose we should ask about the chimney of surprise.
This, I'm so glad I thought to take pictures, because I bet even those of you who have seen the pictures probably still have trouble believing it. The
This is
idea of it
incredible.
is at some point during the long history of my house, somebody had the bright idea of putting in a potbelly stove, and they needed to have a chimney around the exhaust in the next room. But apparently they were too cheap to build an entire chimney, so they just built the chimney on top of the ceiling. And they only went up like about maybe 5 feet. And
Oof.
let it sit on the ceiling, which is just a set of doors. And left it there and said, oh yeah, that thing that weighs probably a quarter of a ton, that's perfectly fine to be above people's heads on a piece of wood. And then left it there. And of course, I didn't check buying the house because somehow it never occurred to me that someone might have hidden a chimney in the ceiling somewhere.
Oh my God.
So we're actually fixing the house, and we slightly adjust the place because the house is sagging. We finally got the house straightened, and that knocks the chimney out of position, and gradually it shifts just enough to fall through the ceiling partially. So it's hanging there. And we're like, what do we do? There is literally no one who has advice on what to do when you have part of a chimney hanging in your ceiling somewhere. There's no specialist in that. I wasn't sure what to do. We couldn't afford to hire a contractor. If we did, what were they going to do anyway? They'd have to bring in a lot of specialized equipment maybe that we couldn't afford. So we just rolled up our sleeves and said, okay, let's see if we could just kind of disassemble it without getting anybody killed. And we got about maybe 15% of the bricks out before the door finally gave, and it just came right through and took out the whole ceiling with it.
Good grief.
So
Nobody was hurt though, right?
No. I had a firm rule: nobody under any circumstances goes under that for any reason at all. We worked on it strictly from the side, and that area was marked off. Nobody steps in this area under any circumstances. It took out an old table, and that was the only casualty besides the ceiling.
That's incredible.
I-
I'm always amused by the things that happen in our lives that we can turn into content as content creators. You made a whole video about this debacle.
Yeah, that was because it was simply unbelievable that this could happen. It sounds made up. How do I explain? We've got a chimney that doesn't go to the floor and doesn't go to the ceiling, and it's sitting on a door that's also my roof. And then it showed up one day. At what point does any of this sound sane? It's enough to make even a libertarian like me want to have more zoning.
Laughs in social libertarian.
So officially, the chimney has
Thank you
been
for the
like
link,
fully
Bubba.
removed.
Wait.
Has been officially removed now, right?
Yes.
I was thinking, I remember the chat, they posted the link to the chimney video.
Excellent.
Hmm.
Linkara asked about the chimney being removed.
Yeah, we took all the remnants out eventually, and we disposed of them. Some people thought I should sign them and sell them to people to pay for the repairs. But honestly, that stuff is so old. I was actually concerned about there might have been hazardous materials inside of it of one kind or another. So we just kind of put on our respirators and disposed of it at a dump with a special spot for that kind of crap. So no bricks were saved.
And no illegal dumping occurred.
No illegal dumping. No. As far as you know.
And gotta go.
There's the humor. There's the sense of humor. There we go. To be fair, though, to discover a chimney is climbing its way through your ceiling into your house, you've got to have a decent sense of humor about it after the fact to talk about it like this, though.
It's just
Now because oh, go ahead. Sorry.
nothing I can even say. The situation speaks for itself.
Indeed.
In like 7 languages.
Now I wanted to ask you something, Chuck. How a lot of us have jumped back into content creation. Some of us never stopped, but a lot of us jumped back into content creation because of the pandemic. How has this changed your process or affected what you do?
Well, that's it's a bit difficult for me to say because right when the pandemic started was when I lost my hosting with Vimeo. And so this whole time, everybody else has been adjusting to one thing or another, and I've just been trying to get my show somewhere and keep it up for the past 2 years. So
I see.
It's a nice trick if you can manage it.
I noticed that you appear to have 2 channels on YouTube. You have the SF Debris channel and SF Debris Red. So what's that all about?
the idea is that over time, because I could only post stuff that was absolutely 100% safe on my YouTube channel, it was all of my more serious stuff. And so it started to draw in an audience that was only interested in my serious works. And when I tried to post anything else, people were really turned off by it. And I had made the Red channel as a place to just kind of dump things when I was first having problems with Vimeo. But once I realized that, I just turned Red into the channel where I post the more traditional stuff that I do.
The more acerbic stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I had one person who didn't like the limited amount of humor that I put in the Planet of the Apes video. I think I only had like maybe 30 jokes in the whole thing, and it was like, "Stop making jokes. You're not funny."
Wow.
And
Jesus.
yeah. Now I got nothing to fall back on.
It's like if my Easy Fives flop, what else would I do?
So Red just became the place where I would put those more traditional works of mine, my typical reviews, and Blue is for my more serious ones then.
I see.
And then I have what I call YouTube Black, and I only call it that because the little icon is like a very dark gray, and I have it hidden. And that's where I put stuff that I don't want to accidentally get the Red channel knocked down for because of I get sued by Japan or something.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a thing now because apparently YouTube is blocking some content in Japan because they don't have fair use laws the way we do in the United States.
Yeah.
And that has been abused lately. Yes.
Yeah,
Heard a lot of
there's
stories.
also, what was it, ShowPro
Yes.
sued a channel recently and managed to get it pulled.
That would be my
Right.
friend Suede, yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
gonna
Yeah,
say.
and then because there was that one, there was the Toei Animation one where they like 150 videos, and some of them didn't even have
Oh,
content
Oh,
from Toei.
they manually reported every video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
bypassing the
good
content
news
ID
is
system.
that got resolved. That got resolved. Good. All the videos came back.
I feel like it's
For
2000
now, anyway.
I feel like it's 2010 and we're dealing with Paramount all over again.
That or when who was the other content group that showed up early in the 2000s with YouTube, and they were causing all kinds of grief. I can't remember the name of it, but there was a whole thing where they were going through and they were flagging everybody's content for any hint of any of their stuff.
Might have been Merlin. There's like a bunch of companies that do this stuff for larger works, for larger groups.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember anymore. I've slept since then.
And I have tried to give advice to people based on my own experiences, including Chuck. That's like, okay, here's right now it looks like they've changed it so that you can't do 15 seconds anymore. Now it's down to 7, and now and use more still frames. But even that would still get claimed. And the royalty-free music I bought and have the rights to, and a full license is getting claimed too.
Oh,
Great,
Jesus.
good.
Yeah,
good,
we work
good.
with Filmstro a lot. So
now, before that, we were using Pro Scores from Video Copilot, and there's some issues with that because when Pro Scores first was released, it hadn't been they hadn't been added to the system on YouTube. Some jackhole went out of his way to add the entire library as his content.
Oh Jesus!
So it took a massive fight between Video Copilot and him and YouTube for them to get the rights back, because they just found out about it right after it happened, and now they have to whitelist all videos and channels. But it's an email away, but it's still an extra step that doesn't have to be there for us using Filmstore and things like that. And as far as like personal experience with this content creation thing, there've really been two types of issues I've ever run into. Was one with my own original music, someone telling me that they had, and I was like, I will show you the contract we have.
Right.
And the other one is the WMG issue that we were having, where Water Tower Music was claiming all of the music from my Batman video game playthroughs, and I would contest it, and after 30 days it would fall off, and it would fall off in our favor.
Right.
So like they would never do anything. It was just the automatic flag that would pop, and it was like, okay.
Now, as MC, I'm going to gently redirect us. Adam, Kevin,
Yes.
do you guys have any additional questions for Chuck before we proceed?
I do.
All right, let's
go. I saw in your Twitter feed you were having some sort of problem with anime. What was that all about?
Well, that's the same topic. The because what happened that really this effed with me this past month was I spent I just really dug in to get a whole bunch of anime set up, and literally the day that I was finished was when I heard about all this stuff and people getting sued and like, oh, it wouldn't be safe for you to post that. And I said, oh, okay. I think I'll just curl up and die for a few days. Thank you very much.
Oof.
Well, here's what I can do to somewhat reassure you on that front, at least with Suede and ShowPro. Basically, the way this legally works, you don't have to do anything. I mean, obviously, there is still the risk of your channel getting taken down for anything like that. But, like, in terms of, like, the legal battle stuff, they can't actually do anything because they have to operate by international law in regards to whatever country, the claimant is in. And in America and in New Zealand, both have fair use laws that allow us to do this. You would have to actually, if you wanted to confront them on it, you'd have to go to Japan to do it. And it's like especially with Suede's case, they said, okay, you owe us this amount of money for what you've done. And it's like they provided no information about how to even pay it.
Yeah, it's basically unenforceable unless they find themselves in Japan and somehow subject to that
Japanese law.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say that now. What are you going to be when someone puts a black bag over my head, dragging me to the airport? When they
It's impossible. I'm just saying it's not immediate.
Yeah, not that I'm a fan of YouTube's answer to this situation, but it does suit for the the issue. Whereas certain countries have different laws, so your content may be okay in the U.S. and in New Zealand, but they're going to block it in Japan. So
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's pretty much
Yeah.
the solution to it is that they just block it in the country that objects, so that way there's no crime, no foul.
Which should be the case for all YouTubers. Should have that option. I actually do
Right.
have the option to do so because I am part of an MCN. But the fact that that's not a widely available option for people is maddening.
Mhm.
God, I miss Blip.
Woo! Now there's a blast from the past.
for real, holy shit!
It's been like 8-10 years now, and we still miss Blip so much.
Oh, they were great.
No, they probably have the same problems, honestly. I mean, they don't have an automatic content ID system, but man, it just feels like there's so many less problems that this would gun into because nobody cared about Blip.
Plus, you could replace your video if you had a mistake in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, just overwrite it there. Okay. YouTube, no, just pull that down and put a whole nother one up. Everybody's stuff goes away, and
Yup.
Right.
Unbelievable.
So, a question I have unrelated to Content ID is, Chuck, how are you planning on handling the whole, deluge of new Star Trek content that is graced us or will grace us?
I've been trying to incorporate it in as we go along here. I've covered some lower decks. I think it was in January, and hope to get to more of that soon. I hope to get back to Picard. That kind of had to get put on hold after episode 3 when a whole different set of problems came down. But it's all a matter of just keeping up with it.
That's a kind of an interesting point. Like with each of the original episodes through the Roddenberry and Berman eras of Star Trek being self-contained storylines for the most part, with certain notable exceptions, the last 3 seasons of Deep Space Nine. With the new shows being less serialized and more of a long format story that runs an entire season, how has that changed your reporting process on covering these episodes?
I've been treating them more as simply looking at each chapter and not offering commentary unless it's immediate, as opposed to at the end like I normally would.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I got trouble with Picard, because as someone noted, you've looked at 3 episodes and you haven't really said anything. Well, I was planning on saying something at 5 when we got to the halfway point and looking back, and I didn't expect to not reach 5 yet. So that's where that is. But it's like, we watched one part of a story and it's not a complete unit, and it's not worth talking about it in as if it was a whole when it clearly is not a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And with something like Discovery, even if it wasn't a serialized thing, with an overarching storyline, you have the additional problem of the show is still on the air, so you can't really give a numeric grading for an overall average, considering there's still more stuff coming.
Exactly. Yeah, I haven't even bothered trying to do any of that with the material that is still on the air. There's no real way to gauge what is the norm for it. Would you judge Discovery by its season 1 or by its season 3? What would be fair?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the general consensus, of course, these days is that since it fundamentally became a different show in season 3, that's like season 3 of Star Trek: The Next Generation was effectively a repilot. So
Star Trek tradition, where we call a do-over a couple seasons in.
We found ourselves. Unfortunately, it was on the other side of the galaxy.
Or 300 years in the future?
900 years in the future.
Say just about 1,000.
I don't
930 to be
watch
precise.
Discovery, so
They went from
I don't watch it anymore after season 3.
Yeah, they went from 2258 to 3283 or 3282 or something like that. 3189. That's what it is. So that way they could get past all the so-called canon problems, but that's a whole other discussion.
It was
Just-
honestly not to
Just
turn
be
this into
careful.
a big Star Trek discussion, but honestly, it was probably what the show needed,
Yes.
especially for dorks like me who cared about the continuity significantly.
I mean, it kind of comes with the territory of Star Trek.
You know, it's like Doctor Who. It's a
Ah.
literal time and space spanning saga.
Well,
that-
Doctor Who, you can get away with a looser continuity because they're constantly changing it through time travel. Star Trek, up until 2009 and the reboot movies, tried to maintain continuity. It didn't always succeed, and of course there were face-palming moments of issues and whatnot, but
Right.
it tried, and then Discovery very clearly did not even want to be part of the Prime timeline. It very clearly was more inspired by the Kelvin's timeline, but from what I understand, there were rights issues with that, and so yeah, that's a whole thing, and not to hijack this into a Star Trek discussion.
it's just that it was originally supposed to be one thing under Bryan Singer, and it became something else under Alex Kurtzman, and yeah.
And of course, I'm the resident Whovian, by the way.
Well, you and Chuck would have a lot to talk about, because I know you deep dive into Doctor Who as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been a fan of Doctor Who
Ooh.
since I was 7 years old.
Me too, 3 years old.
Right,
Yeah,
but who's
I watched
older?
Doctor Who.
Right, but who's older? Wait, that doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
What were you saying, Adam?
Yeah, I've watched my fair share of Doctor Who. Though this season,
No
I just
spoilers.
could
I have
not-
not watched Flux yet.
I could not get through that.
I liked Flux overall, despite some minor issues.
I don't know. I just couldn't deal with it.
I gave Mac a little bit of a rundown about the story of the Timeless Child.
Don't get too deep into
I'm
this.
not no. But I was I liked the idea that they took the concept and gave it a very long, infinite possible scenario, as opposed to constantly having to re-explain when we get to a certain point how this keeps going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that as a mulligan.
Right.
So, overall, I was like, this is neat in a lot of ways, and giving us a lot of new angles to look at the show from, and the story of the Doctor as a whole.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Uh,
What I want to not
For the
do,
problems, we're trying to avoid spoiler talk here, so
well, that too, but I also want to
Yeah.
redirect, because this episode is about Chuck. So I want to
Yeah.
go back. So I'm going to throw out a question here, so that way Adam and Kevin can still get a chance here to bombard you with their
Honestly, I should
Any-
just come out and on the record here and just say that I probably don't have any questions on my end, so it'll probably be.
I've asked all mine, so
Yeah.
All right. So then, bringing it back to Chuck here. So Chuck, we talked about your difficulties with the anime and the concerns about the legal stuff. But that aside, if you had to choose something to do next, what are you hoping to do?
I'm working on a book right now.
Oh.
That's kind of something to help relax in between when the stress gets to be too much. I throw myself into that.
Mm.
So that's what I'm really hoping will be my next big thing. Will be getting that done and out the door.
Now, are you doing fiction or nonfiction?
It's fiction.
Oh, exciting! A fellow novelist.
Yeah. I said, everybody has been talking about the pandemic and disease and stuff. I want to go completely 180 from where everybody else is right now, because I want to be original and not topical. So I said, how about World War III? No one's going to be thinking about that at all.
oh, we live in hell.
I turn the news on it. Son of a...
Submitted without comment.
It's the econs. Sorry, had a Star Trek First Contact moment there. Oh, God.
Anyway.
In that regard, which direction are you leaning? Is it like is there going to be time travel? What are we thinking here?
It's not time travel. It's a limited, very limited communication. Basically, there was an experimental piece of technology that they were using to try to be able to send limited signals into the past. They can, what they found they can do is they can make small changes on the margins rather than, big, huge changes and altering the course of history. So what they try to do is they try to find little places where they can make small alterations to try to affect things. So the story is as much about individuals as it is about the idea of this massive event, and thinking about how, in the end, it's always individuals that wind up making these life or death changing decisions. Like for instance, if we look at what's going on in the Ukraine right now, would this be happening if we still had a Putin in office? Would his flunky be doing the same thing or not? And those kind of questions. Or if we look at history with like Kennedy, and not people, because he died and was lionized, a lot of people don't remember how rough it was in his first year, and how he publicly commented that he thought of himself as a failure. That these are human beings who lead us, and human beings with their own lives, and maybe just being human and having a human need that needs to be met can alter the course of humanity if it's the right person in the right place who needs just a small change to do the right thing.
Outstanding. I like it. It sounds thrilling.
Yeah, scalpel and not a chainsaw.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they do manage to pull some things off, but like they accidentally create a sort of Mark Zuckerberg.
Thank God we're on Twitch. Go ahead.
But he doesn't make it far enough for them to be able to actually alter the war. It's like, oh, your company peters out in like 2031 or something, and you won't make a difference by the time the war starts. So that's a waste. That stupid Android of ours.
Amazing. Now, do you have anything in the pipeline that you're excited about? Any events, anything like that you're looking forward to?
You mean with the show?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really do events. Christmas is probably the closest I get to an event.
Mm-hmm.
I just try to do something extra special for that day. It used to be the worst show, but lately it seems like just trying to find something that'd be really special is more like what people need right now in this atmosphere, as opposed to one more person ragging on something. I mean, that could be fun, sure, but now I don't really do the events thing. I don't even know how many shows I've done anymore. So
that is kind of the dirge of being a content creator, especially people who have been at it as long as we have. Sometimes you get
I've lost track of. I've lost track of how many Fragments episodes there are. Like,
yeah,
we just go by season.
This is why I number these things.
Well, that actually brings up a good point. So what do you do to keep self-motivated, to keep going? To avoid the inevitable terminus.
I'd say that even at its worst, I still love my job. I mean, I as bad as my job is on my worst day, it's still, I know, miles better than most people's are on their best day. I'm doing something I like, and even if I'm not liking the specific thing I'm doing at that moment, I know that there is something that I'm going to like on the other side of this. So, I mean, I would be a fool not to appreciate how good I've got it. And so that's all the motivation I need, is to realize, or to think about, you've done a lot of really shitty jobs in your life. Would you want to go back to any of them rather than do this? And no. No,
You do
I
it-
would take my worst day now over my best day at any other job.
See, now that's great because that it's like you're doing what you love. You're in your calling.
Yeah.
All right, Lewis, did you want to? Let's flip the script a little bit here. Did you want to ask anything of Chuck or share anything with him?
When are you going to do more Blake 7?
I throw that to the Senate every once in a while. Should we throw some Blake 7 in there? And it always gets outvoted by something else.
Well, that's lame of them.
Aren't those patrons with actual money and stuff?
Time for Linkara to go pad the votes.
It's like, I'll fix this and my fan base after this.
I'll be the Blake 7 lobbyist. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I always just follow Chuck in general and his overall content. I'm part of his forum, so I don't really have any deep questions other than, can I be of help to you, sir? Is there anything I can do? Anything in that regard? I haven't asked that in a while, I'm sorry to say, because I don't know if there's anything I can do that you aren't already doing.
Just you being there is seeing you every once in a while on the forum or the Twitter. That's a big morale boost for me because, the show has been through such crap over the last 2 years. The problems thrown at it and trying to juggle everything, and I worry about that and seeing that you're still watching and still sharing thoughts and such. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that because it makes me feel like I'm not just sitting here screaming into the wind.
It's no problem at all, sir.
See, this was nice. We had a nice, easy return with people that we enjoy talking to. This is what I like.
Oh, and after the show, sir, if you're still awake, there's a thing I want to ask you about in private.
Okay.
All right.
And only occasional meandering away from the topic, partially thanks to me.
I wish I had the time to deep dive every single guest that comes on this show because, every once in a while I feel like a rank amateur when I'm interviewing people. And then other days I just find that I have great inspiration. But you guys are always great. You guys are like interviewing on training wheels because everything just falls into place.
Thank you.
So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming for not one, but 2 relaunches of our program.
Not a problem.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to say one thing real quick before we move on to our Entertainment Roundtable discussion. We will actually have a solo interview with Lewis next week. So it's going to be all Linkara all the time, and I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Power Rangers.
Can't imagine why that would be.
Either that or railing against Rob Liefeld.
Always a popular thing to do.
Probably both.
Well, especially given your last
Facebook.
given your last couple of episodes.
So we're now going to imagine Rob Liefeld as a Power Ranger. Topic for next week.
Yeah, let's save it for next week. No.
Sorry,
no.
I think
It's gonna be especially sad if Chuck is not here for next week because the next thing I'm doing is I'm doing a deep dive on a Doctor Who episode.
Ooh.
Oh gosh, one.
Well, see, now the gauntlet has been laid down, Chuck. You need to come back and lend Lewis moral support.
I did a Patreon poll because the thing is, I'm an enormous windbag who has opinions about things, and instead of just doing a Twitter thread because I can't monetize that, I put it to fans.
You may actually be able to do that soon, by the way.
I put it to fans to what do they want me to see me cover of these 3 episodes: Invasion of Time, State of Decay, or Legopolis, and the fans have voted for Legopolis.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Current script is, let me see, I got it open here, 12 pages, and I'm only like halfway through part 2.
Woo!
Oh my
And the thing is, I like Legopolis, but it makes no sense.
And unfortunately, I have to report that Extreme Sentai Liefelger was completely rejected by all of the sponsors involved because the costuming involved way too many pouches.
Hmm.
They had insufficient pouch budget.
Yep.
Outstanding. All right. So again, Chuck, thank you so much for being with us today for our relaunch, and it is always a pleasure talking with you guys.
Been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, don't go away, folks, because we're going to start our roundtable discussion, and of course, Chuck and Lewis are invited to continue the discussion with us. Now, Adam, I didn't prepare a subject for this week, so since you and Kevin are the big Twitter aficionados of anime and whatnot.
I got an idea. I got an idea for this because, in keeping with, let's say, the theming of the program today, let's talk about Paramount Plus because they just had their big upfront about a week and a half ago. Right?
Is this the one where they're like renaming their entire thing to be Paramount or something? Yeah.
Hilariously, I can actually contribute to this because a fan, like a year or two ago, donated a $25 gift card for CBS All Access, and I finally used it last week to get Paramount Plus for a limited time so I can grab a bunch of stuff off of it.
Yeah.
Helpful.
The getting's good, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, yeah, so the entity formerly known as Viacom CBS is now Paramount. Just Paramount.
Yeah, just Paramount, but for business sakes, it's Paramount Global, but it's Paramount in all but name.
Yeah, and the reason they have done this is because, well, they've decided to go all in on streaming, like so many companies have been doing these days. And
But I think, but with this case, probably extremely aggressively.
right,
More aggressively than most.
I'm like,
Because with all the other companies, it's like, streaming is a big thing, but at least they're just giving the illusion that linear is still something. Here, it's streaming first.
Warner Brothers took the full broadside when they were trying to express the idea that they were going to bypass all the distributors with HBO Plus.
HBO Max, yes.
Or HBO Max, yeah. So it's like they took the broadside on that. So it turns out that Paramount has capitalized on that and has rolled in behind the wreckage of the SS Warner Brothers, I think.
right dartboard, wrong slot. It's really Disney that.
They were the big ones first. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
took the lawsuits, but I'm saying that as far as the court of public opinion, Warner Brothers took a huge hit because they were the ones who expressly said, "Well, we're just only going to offer our library through streaming."
And also in terms of the, more importantly, the movie theater exhibitor pushback, more specifically, not just the fans, but the exhibitors themselves, when they saw that Warner was going, "Excuse me,
right?
Like, we're an important part of your business model here. Hi."
Right. And anyway, the reason they've gone with Paramount over any of their other brands is because that's about the only one that means anything internationally. CBS, no, that's the reason why they changed the streaming service in the first place. Nobody knows.
Sure the Columbia Broadcasting System is very popular overseas.
For only pennies at a tape.
Sure. Other broadcasters globally are maybe inspired by CBS in terms of their logo or whatever, but other than that, it's like outside the United States, you say CBS and you're like, what?
Because Paramount is still considered to be one of the big five.
Yep.
Now,
since 19, what was it, like 14?
Something like that. Yeah. They're the second oldest studio still in operation. Mm-hmm. The oldest, by the way, is Universal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, it's going to be a race to see who dies first, Peacock or Paramount Plus.
Sure. Yeah.
Because the market did not react well to the whole presentation and the name change.
Yeah, because see what Wall Street does is they actually look inside of the numbers and don't just listen to the people talking.
They have to.
They have to, and they look and they see. Wait, you have less than $500 million of free cash flow. And this programming amount of money that you're spending is actually eating into your profit margins. Can you pay for all this? No, and the answer is no, because in order to make this money, they're selling off real estate. CBS's headquarters, aka BlackRock, Studio City. They sold off their stake in Television City. So they're selling off real estate. They're also selling off the Simon and Schuster book label, and that's how they're getting all this money to pay for all this programming. And the problem is that maybe for some of these you might get hits, but a lot of them might not become hits. And if they're not hits, that's a tax write-off. And they're not in a position that they can afford that.
Yeah, but they're going to try. God help them. They're going to try.
Yeah.
And the question that some people might be asking is, what is Paramount bringing to the table?
Mm-hmm.
And in times past, the answer was Star Trek, all of the Star Trek, and
which is not insignificant. It's not insignificant, but
but you need more than just Star Trek to run a service.
Well,
so on that note, I suppose we should mention the apparent fourth Kelvin timeline Star Trek movie. I say apparent because there is a very good chance that this thing never materialized, because it turns out the announcement of this movie was news to the fucking cast.
Yeah, Apparently, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and everybody, and their agents specifically, heard that J.J. Abrams said, "Hey, there's going to be a new movie here," and it's like, wait, what?
With who?
So here's what I have heard about that, and what actually happened here.
Okay.
Obviously I'm hearing this from secondary sources, so take what I say with a grain of salt here. But but from what I understand, Paramount stock is doing really, really badly, and at a stockholder meeting, basically this was kind of a gambit that they pulled, saying, "Hey, we're going to do another Star Trek movie in the hopes that it would help raise stock prices." And of course, people dug and actually asked about this, and of course, no one knew what the hell they were talking about. And in turn, the stock just got worse.
10 out of 10 job, boys.
And we're going to need some background on this, because the idea for a fourth Kelvin Star Trek is not new. They were trying about 2019 to get that off the ground.
Yeah, either 18 or 19.
Yeah, but the cast walked because they felt that Paramount was lowballing.
They were jilted because promises were made. Then Star Trek Beyond, even though it did $380 million, as far as Paramount was concerned, they said it underperformed, and that's because Paramount did some executive meddling, and they ratcheted up the cost of the film into murky waters. Were the reshoots necessary? I think it made it overall a better film, because before that there was kind of a lack of an interlocking motive for a lot of what was going on with Captain Kirk and so on and so forth. And so
plus the marketing just sucked on the movie.
I had no idea what the film was about until I sat in the theater and watched the damn thing.
It's a great film. I really enjoyed it, but when the first trailer came out, I was actually severely turned off of it, and I was really worried about it. Turned out I was it's just the way it was presented was not good. They did not hype up the fact that this was the 50th anniversary, and that they could and trying to tie it into that in some way.
Well, and they spoiled blowing up the Enterprise. That was in the first 10 seconds of the trailer.
I want to say so, yeah.
Yeah. It's like you actually see the ship blow up, which should have been a surprise reveal when people actually sat down in the theaters. That should not have been like the first thing they showed. And it just, there was not enough of the story there to convince people not only was this the first true Kelvin Star Trek story, because the previous films, Will Wheaton put it best on StarTrek.com. He said, "I hope that the next Star Trek movie is actually an actual Star Trek movie and not action schlock with the Star Trek label."
I made this joke before, but man, and J.J. Abrams made 2 really great Star Wars movies there.
It's so true, but I also have a lot of commentary about J.J. Abrams being suffering from attention deficit creator disorder and not being able to stick with anything, which is what basically torpedoed the so-called Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Let's not get into that for the time being.
Yeah, that's a long discussion that we're running out of time for. So, but maybe we'll have that discussion next week.
Is that controversial?
Oh, it could be.
Beyond was a great film, badly marketed, and of course executive meddling standard. We didn't actually do as well as else, so we don't have to pay you.
Yeah, there was no commercial tie-ins. I think there was a collector's cup at Jack in the Box or something, maybe.
I have a Christmas tree ornament for the Franklin, which is nice.
Yeah, and people who are asking, what is Jack in the Box?
But it's kind of a West Coast thing. We have it out here.
West Coast, Midwest, some parts of the South if you could find it. Mostly on the eastern part, but yeah.
It's like West Coast Whataburger.
Yeah, pretty much.
With about as expansive of a menu. And 24-hour breakfast.
Yeah, and they have a wisecracking mascot that's been in commercials for like 25, 30 years. So.
Yep.
That creepy one that looks like a styrofoam ball with an ice cream cone glued to it.
Yes.
Which in and of itself is a meta reference to the 70s.
Yes, it is.
Indeed.
Anyway. Yeah.
All
anyway, like I said, we could go through the entire presentation, but that would take way too much time. So we'll end things on the Sonic news.
Indeed.
Because, that is a positive thing. Because Sonic fans are really happy right now, which is a change of pace.
A terrifying change of pace, honestly.
I don't know. They haven't released it yet. That's when they're supposed to start to get mad.
Fuck off.
Oh
right,
God.
but in the moment they are pleased that the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, because it is now a franchise,
right?
Because because they literally announced Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
And Knuckles.
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has been announced. Nothing known beyond that outside of the logo. But Knuckles the Echidna is getting a Paramount Plus television series. And Idris Elba will be voicing him.
Awesome.
Hopefully, hopefully Ken Penders is not attached to this in any way, shape, or form.
He's not attached, and he's very insistent that he's not upset, is the last I heard.
That sounds like the words of a man who's upset.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like I said, once again, that's a whole bunch of history we do not have the time or appetite to go through.
Right.
But, point is, Sonic stuff is coming. Not just that, but Sonic Frontiers. I'm more dubious about a upcoming Sonic game because, what have been the last few Sonic games? Sonic Mania. Okay, that was not done by the main Sonic team, if you will. It was Sonic Forces, Sonic Lost World.
We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah. Be calm about your expectations for once, so we can avoid the Sonic cycle. Anyway, I think that's all that we have to say about this for now.
Yeah. All right. Well, and I think that pretty much rounds out a good first episode back. I think we covered some good topics. We had a wonderful time with our guests. Everybody meshed and gelled well. So, as a sort of summation for our first episode back, it was, let's put it this way, it was better than I expected. Because I am rusty as fuck.
That's all we could ask for.
Yeah, before we were just braying into the wind, for 48 episodes. Think of our previous show, and so this was a nice change of pace. It was nice to get back to basics and be able to talk to everybody in a relaxed environment. I'm really happy that everything turned out this way. So again, special thanks to our friends Chuck and Lewis for being here this week.
No problem.
Couple of show announcements. Of course, tomorrow I will be back here on Twitch with the Golics shadow commentating on my stream of Final Fantasy IV: The Complete Collection, and I am going to play the entirety of this: Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy IV Interlude, and Final Fantasy IV: The After Years. So I just want to be
It's
clear.
not the complete.
A bold choice.
What's that?
It's not the complete collection though, because Final Fantasy IV: The After Years got a secret remake that's on mobile and Steam.
Well, we'll
Did
get
they
it.
change much?
But in terms of the retro gaming theme of my channel, though, I will be playing specifically the PSP version all the way to its illogical conclusion.
It's the best version, honestly.
Yeah.
It saddened me that PSP is considered retro.
Mm-hmm.
2000 what? 4? 2005? Yeah.
2000.
It just saddens me that the N64 is considered retro.
Oh my god. Yeah. We're
GoldenEye, anyone?
we're all crusty old fuckers on Twitch now.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I plan to live forever. Additional announcements. I have decided that my replacement for Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, and I mentioned this on the Fragments of Silicon general channel, but my replacement for Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, now that I've completed the game, is going to be Bayonetta for the Wii U.
Looking forward to seeing a lot of clumsy Enzo statues. I don't know. Maybe you're actually good at these kind of games.
God.
Oh my god!
You see, that wouldn't be fun for my channel if I was an expert at this game. I think that's going to be half of the appeal of it, is watching how angry I get trying to get through an action.
To clarify, I'm not saying I'm good. I'm not.
No, but I'm just saying. I did have an entire series called Mac Fails at MMOs.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to bring it up if you didn't.
Yeah, it's just funny that this is a game that does in fact rank your performance, and I find the you didn't do good reward to be humorous.
It's pretty hilarious, especially if you get greens. If you get green status.
To be fair, I'm the idiot who at the very end of my first stream of Nier Automata ended up getting a bad end by deleting my operating system.
She sold.
Well, they put that in the game for a reason, even if the reason is that Yoko Taro is a very strange man.
He is a troll through and through, like Hideo Baba, for the entire Tales series. But they are trolls of a different stripe. That's all I will say. Jesus Christ. So that's Moonhawk Studios Presents, folks. And of course, be sure to join me for my other streams. And we will be back next week and we're going to flip the script and put Lewis in the hot seat so we can talk to him about his antics and goings on. And I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully Chuck will be able to come along and cheer Lewis in his official return to our program. So I'm looking forward to all of it. Oh, and the name of the person that I embarrassingly forgot is Corey J. Phillips. He is a voice actor of stage and screen, also on stage of screen, and as far as I know, he was the voice of Sans in Undertale. So that's going to be exciting. That will be our third episode 2 weeks from today. So I'm excited, and I hope everybody else is as excited as I am. Thank you, everybody, for all of the follows. I love you all, and I wish I could do shout-outs during the interview show, but I feel like it wouldn't be appropriate. So be sure to tune in for my gaming streams, and I will give you a shout-out then if you remind me. Until then, I'm your host, Mac Paladin, on behalf of the crew at Moonhawk Studios Presents. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.
Be well.